Hey everybody, and welcome to the Columbus Wired Quick Hit pregame preview. I am Andy Evans, and we've made it. This is it. Last home game of the 2021 regular season for your Ohio State Buckeyes, and it couldn't get any bigger than this. Of course, it is senior day, and they will be taking on the 7th-ranked Michigan State Spartans, who are 9-1 overall, 6-1 in the Big Ten. Of course, the Buckeyes only rated 4th right now and sitting in the driver's seat for a college football playoff berth. Of course, the Buckeyes, last undefeated team in Big Ten conference play right now. Michigan State, however, if they get a win today, they'll be in the driver's seat for a Big Ten championship game appearance, which would be their 4th. Of course, the Buckeyes looking to win today, stay in the driver's seat, stay undefeated, and make it a 5th Big Ten championship game in a row. But of course, I am getting way ahead of myself because we've got a big one today. That's right, Michigan State. This is just astronomically huge. Of course, we've got next week, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So all time, the Buckeyes. Let's talk some stats here. Buckeyes all time lead the Michigan State Spartans, more than doubling up on Sparty, 31-14 in favor of Ohio State. However, Michigan State, out of those 15 wins, 9 of them have come right here in Columbus. 8 of them, in fact, in this place alone, in Ohio Stadium. The first 3 victories that Michigan State got in the series against Ohio State, 2 of them were here in the Horseshoe, 1951 and 1952. In fact, their first win ever against Ohio State, and it was the first game ever played against the Buckeyes and the Spartans played, 1912. Of course, that was over there at Old Ohio Field down off of High Street. But the first 3 games that these teams ever played, all 3 games went to the Spartans. Since then, obviously, the tide has turned. The Buckeyes have won 31. They've lost 15. And of course, we all remember some other losses that took place here in the Horseshoe, including 2015, and some probably even remember 1998 when some guy named Nick Saban came in here and beat the Buckeyes when he was still head coach at Michigan State. And of course, those 2 games, only 1 loss on the season, and those losses, the loss in 2015 and the 1 loss in 1998, that of course knocked Ohio State out of the national title. So Michigan State looking to do it again today. Once again, they win here. They're in the driver's seat because they're going to have the tiebreakers over both Ohio State and Michigan, whom they just beat back a few weeks ago. We remember that crazy win, right? Down 30-14, and they stormed back with a 37-33 victory. So the Buckeyes, a lot riding on the line. The Spartans, a lot riding on the line as well. The Buckeyes, of course, we all know about their offense, right? High-flying, #1 total offense in the country at 550 yards a game. #1 scoring offense at 46 points a game. They're #3 in passing efficiency, of course. Mr. C.J. Stroud, your redshirt freshman, a big reason for that. They're 3rd in the country on 3rd down. That's a stat that we're going to come back to. 3rd in the country on 3rd down. That's huge. They're at a 53% conversion clip. Michigan State, we've all heard about their defense, right? They're last. Not only last in the Big Ten, they're last in the entire country in passing yards allowed. There's only 2 teams right now in all of FBS that have allowed over 3,000 yards passing on the year, and Michigan State is one of them. They've allowed over 3,200 yards through the air. They are also 9th in the Big Ten in scoring defense at 22 points a game, which actually really isn't that bad. The Big Ten's been playing some defense this year. And they are 11th in the Big Ten. They are dead last in the Big Ten at 27.5 minutes time of possession. Guess who's only a couple of spots ahead of them? Ohio State. They are 10th in the Big Ten in time of possession at 28.5 minutes. And that's crazy to think that 28.5 minutes, Ohio State is 10th in time of possession, and yet they're the top scoring offense and the top total offense in the country. Michigan State's offense, though, they are very, very good as well. In fact, they are, I believe, 3rd right now in the Big Ten in scoring offense. They're 4th in total offense. So this is a team that can score as well. And and they can score quickly. So what does that mean for the defenses for Ohio State? We just talked about Michigan State's defense not being real great against the pass. Well, the Buckeyes aren't that great either. In fact, they're, let me see here. Yeah, they're next to last. So Michigan State's last in passing yards allowed. Ohio State is just barely above them. They've allowed over 2,600 yards on the year at 261 yards a game. And a guy like Peyton Thorne, Michigan State quarterback, he can throw the football. He's actually had a really good year. Over 2,400 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Now his completion percentage is a little bit low at 63%, but he's still very efficient with the football. And he's got two main targets in Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor, who those two guys combined for over 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns. So he's definitely got a couple of very good targets to throw to, much like C.J. Stroud has to throw to in Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Chris Olave. And of course, the narrative on them, we heard Chris say earlier this week, this is it. This is his last game as a Buckeye in the horseshoe. Can't blame him for that, right? He's given us 4 great years, and he has the opportunity today. And all he needs is 2 touchdown catches to become Ohio State's all-time receiving touchdowns leader to break David Boston's 34. Can he get 2 today? Might be a tough task, but we're going to find out. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, of course, all he's done is break David Boston's single-game receptions record, which we saw a couple weeks ago against Nebraska, and he has now become only the 6th Buckeye ever to have over 1,000 yards receiving in a single season. Absolutely crazy for that kid, only a sophomore. We got him back at least 1 more year. However, Garrett Wilson, he's a junior. It's senior day. He technically can come back. More than likely, this is probably going to be his last game here in the horseshoe as well. A lot of draft experts are having him as a top 10 pick. So more than likely, this is going to be Garrett Wilson's swan song as well. So the Buckeyes, though, got to protect C.J. Stroud and give him that ability to throw the football, because Michigan State, 2nd in the Big Ten right now, to Ohio State, who's 1st in sacks. The Spartans have 31, the Buckeyes have 33. And both teams are very stingy in giving up sacks. The Spartans right now protecting Peyton Thorne very well, 4th in the Big Ten, only allowing 16 sacks this year. The Buckeyes, 2nd in the Big Ten, only allowing 11 sacks. And C.J. Stroud, we've seen him move very well within the pocket. So that's not only because the offensive line is doing a great job protecting him. The hog mollies up front have been great all year. But C.J. Stroud does a good job of moving around and avoiding pressure. So really, the passing game, it's going to be interesting on both sides of the ball. Can they avoid sacks? Can they keep the pressure off their quarterback and allow them to throw? Because if they're given time, as we've seen both passing defenses now for Michigan State and Ohio State, they're going to allow some yards. So the Buckeyes really need to put the pressure on Peyton Thorne today if they want to win. And oh yeah, they just have to stop a guy running the football for Michigan State named Kenneth Walker III. Here's a guy who couldn't even start at Wake Forest. Now I know Wake Forest is having a good year this year, but come on, could not even start for Wake Forest. And yet here he is, leading the country, 1,400 yards. He's actually 2nd with over 1,400 yards on the season. That, of course, is good enough to lead the Big Ten. But he does lead the nation at 147 yards per game, and he's tied for 2nd in the FBS right now in scoring at 10.8 points a game. That also leads the Big Ten. Ohio State needs to control him. They need to stop him. And if you're Michigan State and you're looking to win this football game today, put it in the hands of Kenneth Walker III. Ohio State, they're 3rd in the conference at 106 yards rushing allowed per game, which isn't too bad, but we've seen Ohio State's rush defense honestly get exposed. Remember Minnesota? Remember Oregon? Over 200 yards a game for each of those teams. However, they have not allowed over 200 yards in a single game since the Oregon game. They've only had 2 triple-digit games against, believe it or not, Rutgers, and, boy, it just slipped my mind. Anyways, two games now, they've allowed over 100 yards rushing since the Oregon game. They've done a good job, but last weekend against Purdue, in fact, it was Nebraska. Thank you. Last weekend against Purdue, the Boilermakers came in at an FBS worst, 2.4 yards per carry. Had the absolute worst rushing offense, not only in the Big Ten, in the country, 2.4 yards per game. They only ran for 91, but their average running the football was at 4.8 yards per carry. You throw that kind of stat in there, and you're facing a guy like Kenneth Walker III who can ramble for some yards. That could spell disaster for the Buckeyes today. So if you're Michigan State, run Walker, control the clock, and try to keep the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands in Ohio State's prolific offense. So, having said that, my keys to the game. Buckeyes, if you're going to win, you got to score. You got to score in bunches, and you're going to probably have to do it through the air. However, I want to see a two-headed rushing attack today with Henderson and Mayan Williams. Mayan Williams interviewed this week. He seems ready. He says he's 100%. 14 carries, 117 yards last week against Purdue. Hey, it might have been in kind of cleanup time, but if they can get him and Henderson productively running the ball and possibly put a double, a deuce on Michigan State's defense, I think the Buckeyes have a great chance of winning this game. Once again, Michigan State, run the ball, keep it out of C.J. Stroud's hands, and they're going to have to throw a little bit, and I think they're going to have the ability to throw. But ultimately, a 19-point favorite is Ohio State. Boy, that's generous. That's generous. I think Ohio State gets the win today, but it's going to look dirty. It's going to be gritty. It might even be a little ugly. They might have to rely on Noah Ruggles, the Big Ten's second leading scorer, to put some through the uprights and help them to a win today. So ultimately, your final score, Ohio State 33, Michigan State 27, to set up a showdown between the Buckeyes and you-know-who come next Saturday. That's been your Columbus Wired Quick Hit pregame preview, folks. I appreciate you checking it out. My name's Andy Evans. Y'all take care. Have a great day, and go Bucks.